Make sure you turn to page 102 and 103 in your Origo journal book. Today we're going to be identifying and recording time using AM and PM. So at what time does your day begin? What time does it end? How do you know? So think about when you wake up, is it daytime or is it nighttime? And how do you know if it's daytime or nighttime? What is happening outside? Well, we know that when we wake up in the morning, it is daytime because the sun is out. And then we know when we're going to sleep that it's nighttime because the sun has set and sometimes the moon is already out. What time is exactly in the middle of the day? In the middle of the day would be 12 p.m. because that is half of our day. So if we take a look at our clock, right here would be half of our clock. And that would say 12 p.m. What do you know about this time of day? How could you show the difference between 6 o'clock in the morning and 6 o'clock in the afternoon? Well, just like we talked about earlier, when it's the morning time, it's going to have the sun and it'll have AM. And in the afternoon, it would be PM because we know the sun is starting to set. Write AM to describe the times between midnight and noon. Write the PM to describe times between noon and midnight. AM is short for ante-meridium, which means before midday. PM is short for post-meridium, which means after midday. So anytime we see from midnight to noon the next day, we're always going to have AM after. Anytime we have noon to midnight, between those two times, it's going to be PM. That lets me know it's in a later part of the day. Now, just like always, we're going to do number 1 and number 2 together, and then you'll complete the step ahead and upload a picture. So we're going to write the digital time for each event. Then write AM or PM to match the event. So what I like to do to make sure that I see the time exactly as it's supposed to be, I like to draw out my minute hands and my hour hands all the way through so I can see the exact minute and hour that it lands on. I know I will check my hour hand first. My hour hand is between the numbers 7 and 8. When I decide on the hour, I'm always going to look at the number that is before the hour hand. So before my hour hand would be the number 7 because I haven't quite finished the hour 7 yet, so I can't say it's 8 o'clock. It's past the number 7, so I know that we're still in the hour of 7. So I'm going to come over and write 7. Now, I'm going to look at my minutes. It lands on 6. I'm going to come back and I'm going to skip count by 5s because I know to count minutes I have to skip count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So now I know it is 7:30 and it's a time when we eat breakfast. So do we eat breakfast at AM or PM? We eat breakfast in the morning, so I'm going to write AM. Letter B. Same thing that we just did. I'm going to go ahead and draw my lines out so I can see the exact times. My hour hand is between the numbers 3 and 4. I always want to choose a number before my hour hand, which is 3. My minute hand lands on number 3, which is a quarter. This is at my quarter mark. So I'm going to skip count. 12 starts at 0, 5, 10, 15. It's 3:15, which is also a quarter past 3. Now, this is describing walking home from school. When we walk home from school, do we walk home from in the morning, which is AM, or after midday, which is PM. We walked home after midday, which is PM. Next is letter C. Same thing, I'm going to draw my lines out so that way I know my exact times. My hour hand is between the numbers 6 and 7. Remember, I'm always going to choose the number before, which is 6 in my hour. Now I'm looking at minutes. Oh, notice here that my minute is not directly on one of my numbers. So we know that the numbers and the big dots are worth 5 minutes each. So in between, the little dots are going to be 1 minute. So when I'm going around and counting, I'm going to skip count by 5 first. 5, 10, 15. Now I have to add 1 minute each for the little dots. 15, 16, 17, 18. So my minutes are going to be 18 because, like I said, the numbers and the big dots are worth 5 minutes, and in between each of those dots are 1 minute. Now, 6:18. When do we prepare for dinner? Is that AM or PM? That is PM. We eat dinner after midday. Next is letter D. I'm going to draw my minute hand out and my hour hand out. I'm going to look at my hour hand first. My hour hand is between the numbers 7 and 8. 7 comes before my hour hand, so I'm going to write the number 7. And I'm going to count my minutes. Remember, we always skip count by 5s. Start at 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Now I'm going to count by 1s. 41, 42, 43. 7:43. And it is describing ride bus to school. So do we ride the bus in the morning at AM or in the afternoon PM? Remember, it's to school, so it would be AM. Now go ahead and take a look at page 103. Remember, if you need me to go slower, or if you need to listen to this again, just rewind the video, go back and listen to me re-explain some of these. Remember, you have the power to stop me, to pause me, to rewind me, to fast forward me. Take advantage of those options. Okay, now we're going to take a look at number 2. We're going to write each of these as digital times, then loop AM or PM. Letter A says 25 minutes past 10 in the morning. So I know that it's saying it's past 10. So my hour is going to be 10. And then if I go back, it says 25 minutes past 10. So that means I have 25 minutes after 10 o'clock has passed, which also is telling me that my minute is landed on the number 25, the time. So it is 10:25 in the morning. Remember, in the morning, it's going to be AM. Letter B says 7:48 at night. This one gives us the time exactly what I'm writing. I have 7 first, 48 next in my minutes, at night, which is PM. Now make sure that you're paying attention to the numbers, because it can be tricky, because you could have written 48 in the hour hand, in the hour space, but on our clock we don't have a number 48 for us to write. So remember, anywhere in your hour can be from the number 1 to the number 12. Okay? Now, we can have numbers like 30s and 50s and 40s here in my minute space, But make sure you don't flip it around the other way to where it says 48:7, because that wouldn't make sense. That wouldn't be a real time. So you just really got to make sure you're listening and reading carefully what it is that it says in the description. Okay, letter C is 3:15 in the afternoon. So it says 3:15. So I know my hour is going to be 3. And we talked about a quarter earlier. We can always take a look at the clock that's over here. You can do this to your clock as well to help you. I'm going to divide my clock into fourths. So I have 4 quarters. I'm going to divide it in half vertically first from 12 to 6. Then I'm going to divide it horizontally from 9 to 3. Now, my first quarter is going to be here. My second quarter is going to be underneath. My third quarter, my fourth quarter. So my first quarter is here. If I know it's 3:15 in the afternoon, 3:15, because if it's 3 o'clock, I'm right at 12. Now it's a quarter, which would land me at 3. So let's skip count that. 5, 10, 15, which would mean that my minutes are at 15. So try to remember this tool here where we break our clock up into quarters, which means 4 equal parts, just like we learned in fractions last week. Our first quarter, if it says past 3 the exact time, at 3 o'clock, that means you start right at 12 and look at that quarter. Okay. So now I know it's 3:15 in the afternoon, which is 3:15. And it says afternoon. So that means after morning or after midday. So that means it's PM. Now, letter D says 14 minutes past 11 at night. So it's past 11. So my hour is going to be 11. And 14 minutes, which means I have 14 here, and it's past night time, so it's either going to be AM or PM, and I know night time it's going to be PM. Letter E is 11:15 in the morning. So I have 11 as my hour again. Then I need to look at 1/4 just like we did for letter C up at the top. We're going to take a look. I'm right at 11, so I'm going to start at the 12. I'm going to look at 1/4, which is going to be at my 3. We know that 3 is 15 because we have 5, 10, 15. So my minute is going to be 15. And it says in the morning, so it'll be AM. Letter F, 4:55 in the afternoon. We have 4 in my hour, and we have 55 in my minutes. Because remember, we had to make sure I couldn't have 55 in my hour because we can't have 55 hours on my clock. So make sure you're just reading this exactly how it's telling you. And we're in the afternoon, so that means I'm going to have PM. Letter G, 10:38 at night. 10 tells me my hour. 38 tells me my minute. And I'm at night, so that tells me PM. H, 8:15 at night. 8 would be my hour. 15 would be my minutes. And it's at night, so we also have PM again. Now you're going to look at the step ahead below. You're going to read the problem, and you're going to answer the 2 questions. Make sure you're paying attention to exactly what it's asking you, because one of the times starts at PM and one starts at AM. Make sure you're adding correctly. Once you have finished the step ahead, take a picture of only the step ahead. I don't need to see up at the top on number 2, and I also don't need to see number 1. So make sure that you're only taking a picture of the step ahead down here And when you have done that, upload it into your assignment.